Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Sports Wrap with Michael Kravetz. I am back after a 2-week absence. Last week, I wasn't feeling too well. I was a bit under the weather. And, the fact with my birthday weekend coming up, figured I'd just take a week off. And, boy, not a good week to take off because there's a lot of things happening in the sports world, especially here in Pittsburgh. And we're going to start it off with the talk of the town right now. And no, it is not the Pittsburgh Penguins, it is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They had a big 10-game homestand this past week and a half, with 3 of the best teams in the National League coming to PNC Park. The Cincinnati Reds for a 3-game series, St. Louis Cardinals for 3 games, and then the hot Atlanta Braves, the best team with the best record in baseball, for a 4-game series. And what do you know? Coming into the homestand, I was saying, this team, they have a chance to go 7-3 on the 10-game homestand. A lot of people are saying, just be happy if they can go 5-5, even 4-6. Well, I was actually wrong too, because with the one game being postponed due to rain in the Cardinals series, the Pirates end up going 7-2 on this 9-game homestand. 7-2 against 3 of the best teams in the National League, 3 playoff teams from a year ago, and they sure will be competing for another playoff spots this year as well. And it's just amazing that the Pirates are able to pull off 7 wins against these top caliber teams. So that just makes you wonder, is this Pirate team, if certain things fall into place for them, will they be able to contend like they did for so much of last year? But of course, people are not going to say anything, because first off, the season's not even 20 games in yet, and we all know the 2 collapses the Pirates have had in August and September the past 2 years. So still a long way to go before people are going to jump on this bandwagon and say, okay, this is the year they'll finally reach finishing over 500, and that they will possibly make it to the playoffs for the first time as well in over 20 years. But I want to take a look, okay, this was the breakdown of each series at PNC Park this past week and a half. They sweep the Cincinnati Reds with an improbable victory in the 3rd game of the series. The Pirates were down 5-0 in the 7th inning, and leadoff home run by Michael McHenry, which I thought was just one of those things that the Pirates have had so many years. Late home run, not going to add much. At least they're not shut out. But boy, it sparked a huge comeback. The Pirates scored 4 runs in that inning. Then the Reds were up 6-4 in the bottom of the 8th. Michael McHenry comes up and hits his 2nd home run of the game to tie it at 6. Later in the inning, Starling Marte hits his 1st home run of the season to give the Pirates an 8-6 lead. They go on to win the game 10-7. And they did it against Matt Latos. They put up early about 3 runs on him late in the 7th inning, who dominated the Pirates the entire game. And then Jonathan Broxton, who is one of the best relievers in the game today, used to be an all-star closer. He doesn't get anyone. He doesn't get anyone out. He gives up all these runs, and then they add another run when Aroldis Chapman comes in. So a great start to the homestand, and then they follow that up with supposed to be a 3-game series with the Cardinals. The second of the 3 games got rained out, and they split with the Cardinals, they both each winning a game. And in the Wednesday game, A.J. Burnett had a no-hitter through the top of the 7th. There were 2 outs left, and he finally gave up his first hit, a double to Carlos Beltran. But that would be the only hit of the game. So Burnett's still showing that he is the ace of this Pirates staff. And then with the Braves coming into town, they led the major leagues in home runs up to this point, 25. And in the first game, it was a back-and-forth game. It was 4-4 in the 8th inning. Jared Hughes comes in and gives up a home run, 2-run home run to pinch hitter Evan Gattis. The Braves win the game 6-4. They hit 4 home runs in that game. So you're thinking, oh boy, this could be a series, where the Braves take 3 or 4, even possibly sweep the Pirates with the type of hitting that they have with the Upton brothers, Chris Johnson leading the league in average, and then Evan Gattis. This could not be a good 4-game set for the Pirates, but the Pirates answered right back. The next start, Wandy Rodriguez, after he missed his previous start with that hamstring injury, comes out and just lights up the Atlanta Braves, getting, I believe it was 6 strikeouts in the game, only allowing 1 hit. His best performance as a Pirate pitcher to date, and he mowed him down. The Braves, they go up, they hit home runs, but guess what? They strike out a lot too. And that continued in Saturday's game and Sunday's game. The Pirates winning Friday night 6-0, Saturday night 3-1, and then yesterday winning 4-2. It was some shaky starts from Jonathan Sanchez and Jeff Locke during this homestand. James McDonald had a shaky start as well, but backed it up Saturday. But a great way to end this homestand. And now they have a big 10-game road stand now, with 4 in Philadelphia, 3 in St. Louis, and 3 in Milwaukee, where we know the Pirates have had their struggles in the past. So it'll be interesting to see. A lot of people are saying, oh, okay, you take 4 and 6, you take 5 and 5. Guess what? The Pirates are still around the 500 mark, because right now, 10 and 8, tied for second place in the NL Central. I know it's super early. They are doing better than they were, though, at this point last year, so that's good to know. Because I believe the Pirates were about 7 and 11, I think, through 18 games last year. 10 and 8, 3-game difference. You always got to look at signs of improvement somehow. Many things now that I would say that I'm impressed with this team so far through 18 games. The first has to be the leadoff hitter, Starling Marte. The Pirates have struggled in the past few years, not having a good leadoff guy. They had Presley there, had Tabata there. Andrew McCutchen, that's where he started out his career with the Pirates. He has been now developed into a power hitter. And Starling Marte has shown that the potential, he's starting to live up to it. 22 hits, which leads the team right now. It's in the top 5 in the National League. .319 batting average. Already has a couple triples, has a home run, and is second on the team with 8 RBIs. There was a stretch where I believe it was 8 or 9 games in a row where he led off the game with a hit. He had a 10-game hitting streak in the past few weeks. He's seeing the ball a lot better. I remember last year, toward the end of the year, he was striking out a lot. He was too impatient. There were times when he wouldn't pull the trigger. He wasn't confident in himself. Definitely over the fall, playing in the Dominican League, he has definitely improved. And I think he is a very, very good player. He is a 6-tool player. He's going to provide stability at the top of the lineup. And it's helping the other players who are now batting behind him with Travis Snider, who, I wasn't expecting a whole lot from him this year, because I know he was also a guy, that had all this potential when he was ascending in the Toronto Blue Jays minor league system. But I actually thought Tabata was going to win this right field spot in the starting lineup. And, Tabata has played good off the bench, but Snider's just playing out of his mind right now. He is leading the team with a .357 batting average. He already has 7 doubles. He's turning into a doubles machine. Still looking for his first home run. He should have had one against Cincinnati, but it was taken away from him on replay, which was just a ludicrous call. But I didn't see a lot from him in spring training, and I didn't see a lot from him last year that I really liked, that said, okay, that he can be a good contributing starter at right field. Because I thought Garrett Jones, even though his fielding is suspect, was better suited at that position, as well as Tabata. But Snider is proving me wrong, and he's still young, and he's still trying to grow as a player. And with the pace he's on, even though it's early, he could really benefit from being in that 2 spot, batting behind Marte and batting in front of McCutchen, because they're going to give Snider pitches to hit, because they're not going to want to face McCutchen. And if Marte gets on base, they're going to be trying to throw fastballs to Snider, because they know that Marte is a threat to steal. So Snider is definitely going to benefit, and he has the ability to be an all-star. I know that's kind of ludicrous to say for me, because I didn't see much from him last year, but even though it's early, he's on pace to do a lot of special things for this ball club, where they really haven't had a right fielder who has been consistent through a full season. So we'll see where it leads from here, but all I can say is that Snider he's getting on base, and he's doing a lot of good things for this team batting out of the 2 hole. Another area on this team that I am thoroughly impressed with is the back end of the bullpen. Neil Huntington, you can say what you want about him, not spending money, not going after the big-time players to help this lineup, but he has always done a great job with finding, older players or younger players that teams have given up on, bringing them into the bullpen, and they somehow get the job done. Case in point, trading Joe Hanrahan to the Red Sox, they got Mark Melancon. I didn't really know much about him, but boy, has he shown up and been just a phenomenal pitcher in the 8th inning. So far, 11 innings pitched. He's only given up 4 hits, 1 run, which was the home run to Joey Votto, 10 strikeouts, a 0.82 ERA. He is definitely filling in where Grilly did last year, and he might be performing better than Grilly did in the 8th inning. And then, come on, Jason Grilly, the closer. I've always heard, the 8th inning, a lot different when you get to the 9th inning. But he is making the transition look very easily because he's 7 for 7 in save opportunities. 8 innings total that he's pitched. He's only given up 3 hits, no runs whatsoever, 13 strikeouts. And I will say the walks, it's 4 walks. And it seems like the Pirates closers have always, they never come out and have clean 9th innings most of the time. But so far, Grilly, out of the 7 save opportunities, I would say about 5 of them have been clean. So, that's good. Hanrahan, you know how he always had those shaky outings as the closer for the Pirates the past 2 years. But Grilly he's doing phenomenal. He's letting his hair grow out, too. So, I have a feeling he's going to keep that hair growing maybe until he starts maybe going on a rocky slide. But who knows? Maybe he might finish the year going perfect in save opportunities. But like I said, it's only 18 games in. I know he's 7 for 7. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but he is really looking good, and signing into that 2-year deal is making Neil Huntington look like a genius right now. And, even the other guys in the back end of the bullpen. Tony Watson, yes, he's had some shaky outings, or shaky relief appearances, but, he's a lefty specialist. And I won't say he's not as good as he was in that first year, 2 years ago, when he got called up, and he was really blowing pitches past batters, but he is still solid. He can be your solid 7th inning guy. Justin Wilson, another lefty, 1-0. Got his first win yesterday in the major leagues. 1.50 ERA, 12 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs. His walks are up 7, but strikeouts 9. I've always liked him. He's a young guy. I think he is going to turn out to be a very good relief specialist for this team. Who knows? He could be the closer of the future once Grilly is probably more than likely retired. But Wilson, he's just turning into a solid pitcher. And then if you look at the middle relievers, I think the one who has really caught my eye, Jinmar Gomez, who in spring training, I did not think there was a chance that he would ever make this team. His ERA was over 12. And nothing was really much said about him. It's pretty much like he had a spot locked up virtually after they got him from the Indians. And he has come out and he has filled in greatly for when, Jeff Locke and Jonathan Sanchez and even James McDonald, when they have had to been taken out of games early on, Gomez has come in and he has just been their stout long reliever. But yesterday, ended up pitching 2 1/3 innings, only giving up 3 hits, 3 strikeouts. I will say that he has walked his fair share. Only 4. He's not a strikeout pitcher, but 9 1/3 innings pitched so far this year, under 1 ERA. He's only given up a run, so he is definitely doing a lot better than he was in spring training, and I think he's going to fill this long relief role rather well. The problem, though, that I will say about this bullpen, yes, they are looking great. They are looking phenomenal early on in the season. They are, I believe, number 1 now in bullpen ERA after this 4-game series with the Braves. But the troubling thing is, it seems like they're having to go to this bullpen too often, too soon in the season. You don't want to have your bullpen taxed in the first month of the season, because where's that going to leave you for the other 5 months? So the starters just have to go deeper. James McDonald, you're not going to know what you're going to get with him. He is still inconsistent. He had a great game against the Braves on Saturday, But the other one that he had in this homestand against the St. Louis Cardinals was just atrocious, allowing 8 runs in 2 innings. He didn't even finish the second inning. So, and then Jonathan Sanchez, 0-2, an 11.12 ERA. Didn't even get out of the... He pitched 3 innings yesterday. That's not good enough. Jeff Flock, you don't know... You're really getting like maybe 4 or 5 innings out of him. You can't continue to do this. So that's why, when Charlie Morton, Francisco Liriano, and when Jeff Karstens, I have no idea. It's going to be a while before he comes back. Liriano and Morton are expected to come back in May. I don't know how they're going to hold up, because Liriano and Morton, they haven't been good pitchers. Morton hasn't pitched since 2011. Liriano hasn't been the same pitcher the past few years. So you hope that they would be much more improvement over Locke and Sanchez, which I think they will be, but you just don't know what you're going to get from them right now. So that is still a question mark. The one thing you do know, you have 2 aces right now in the front end of the rotation with A.J. Burnett and Wandy Rodriguez. Even though Burnett is 1-2, he has pitched great in all 3 of his starts. 2.63 ERA, 35 strikeouts, which is in the top 10 in the major leagues. And Wandy Rodriguez, 2-0, 0.56 ERA, only 1 walk in 16 innings, 11 strikeouts. These 2 guys, I know they're older, but guess what? They're providing veteran leadership for the rotation. They want to pick Burnett's brain. Rodriguez, the same thing. They're going to be consistent. They're going to go out and give you innings. Now, Burnett, he's only gotten past 6 innings in one of his starts. That is a concern. It seems like his pitch count raises. It increases every start early on. And that's always been his problem through his career, that he's already up to at least 70 pitches, maybe by the 4th or 5th inning. And that's just what you're going to get with him. But those 2 guys are, I think every time you go out with them as your starter for the night, you think, okay, we're definitely have a chance to win this game. With McDonald, you don't know. And with Locke and Sanchez, you're going to be lucky if you can get a win, if you can get at least 5 or 6 innings out of them. So that will still be a question mark that will soon be answered in the next 3 weeks or so to see when Liriano and Morton come back. The other thing, Clint Barmes. We all know the year that he had last year, the subpar hitting year. Started off the year really poorly. Starting to show some life at the plate. But coming into the game yesterday, he was batting under 100. Fans were booing him whenever he was coming up to the plate. In the game Thursday night against the Braves, had chances to come up and provide timely hits that could maybe have gotten the Pirates a 4-game sweep, but he fell up short. But in this game against Atlanta, he was the hero. 2 RBIs, including the game-winning RBI, to make the score 3-2. He came up with timely hits, finished the game 2 for 3, had those couple RBIs. Now he's over 100 finally. Maybe it can get him going because, he had some errors early on in this homestand, and, people were saying, they brought him over here because he was a defensive, guru at shortstop. And when you see him make silly mistakes, silly errors, that's just going to add more fuel to the fire for fans to boo. But I think he's starting to come around, and if he can just get his back going a little bit, I think Barmes will finally reach his comfort level here in Pittsburgh. Because this is the last year of his 2-year contract, and unless something really changes, I don't think he'll be back with the team. But if he can kind of have a spark on offense, that might change. And then the other thing, Andrew McCutchen, always going to compete at a high level. Right now he is leading the team with 14 runs, 8 doubles, a couple home runs, 12 RBIs, and he's stealing a lot more. He's running 6 stolen bases. Last year he only had 20. That was one of the things they wanted to, try and get him going, saying, you have speed. You need to start stealing more. He's definitely shown that. And, with him and Marte at the top of the lineup stealing bases, that's only going to help the Pirates even more. So hopefully he continues to run, and, he can definitely be a 30-30 guy this year. The one guy that is still having his struggles, it seems like it's been happening every single year, Pedro Alvarez. He's only batting 125. This 4-game series against the Braves, hopefully some confidence will build in him. He had some good, timely hits, has a couple home runs now under his belt. Hopefully you can get him going. I think defensively, he has improved greatly every year. And he's had a few errors already, but this could be his best year defensively at third base. And he just got to get back into his mental stage. He just needs to see the ball better, get his foot down in his stance, and once he gets his foot down early enough, he's able to see the ball and drive it. Because the home run that he hit in the Atlanta series, he drilled it. Drilled it. It went out of the stadium, almost went into the river. Only one player has ever done that, Darrell Ward. I think Alvarez will definitely do that because he has a long career here still in Pittsburgh. And, it's just patience with him because he's going to strike out a lot. I mean, that's what a home run hitter does. So just hopefully he can get... I mean, he's never going to hit 275 to 300. I think he'll always be around a 220, 230 hitter. It's just you hope that the power numbers will just continue to increase. Maybe 35 home runs this year. Maybe close to 100 RBIs. That's what you have to hope for. So we'll see on this road stand to see if maybe his back can come alive. Because I know once his back comes alive, more people are going to start contributing on offense. Garrett Jones, Russell Martin. It's going to happen. So with that now, we are going to transition into the other hottest team right now. And this time in the NHL. The Pittsburgh Penguins, they are still finding a way to get it done without the likes of James Neal, Chris Letang, who came back from injury but has missed the past few games, Evgeny Malkin, who has missed the past couple of games, and Sidney Crosby, who has now missed 13 games, has now missed 9 games, and then Paul Martin, who's been out for the past few weeks. It's more than likely to say that none of them will be back. Maybe Letang and Malkin before the season ends. There's 4 games left, but it's pretty much likely that Paul Martin would be back later in the first round of the playoffs, possibly the second if the Penguins advance, and Sidney Crosby will be back to start off the playoffs with a specially worn mask so that he doesn't have another injury again to his jaw. But these Penguins, they find a way to win. And, they are an all-star team. Even without Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Neal, they have Jerome Iginla. They have Brendan Morrow. They have Jussi Jokinen. They have Matt Cook. They have Brandon Sutter. They have Pascal Dupuis. They have Chris Kunitz. These are all guys who are contributing at a high level, and they don't seem to miss a beat when the leaders of this team go down with an injury. Because it's safe to say that over the past 3 years, not any of the 3 guys, even when Stahl was here, Malkin, Crosby, and even Neal, it's so rare for them all to play together for a consistent amount of time because someone always seems to get injured. And they have just gotten so used to this that I don't think it affects their chemistry whatsoever. Because I think someone was saying that, over the past 3, if there were to be 3 full seasons, Malkin and Crosby have only played 45 games together. That's just insane. And the fact that the Penguins have still had success in the regular season, that just goes to show you that nothing can deter this team's will to win. And I think it all starts, with Pascal Dupuis and Chris Kunitz, because when they're playing with Sidney Crosby, they are the best line in hockey. When Crosby goes down, Dupuis is still contributing with assists and goals. You bump Chris Kunitz down to play with Malkin and Neal, and now he's with Iginla and Morrow. Guess what? He's still producing at a high level. He's getting his fair share of assists, and he's scoring. So it just goes to show you that the Penguins, I think they are just, they find a way to win. Their willpower is too strong, and they know that, okay, we're going to win, regardless if Crosby and Malkin aren't playing. And they did that once again on Saturday. A heartfelt moment at the beginning of the game in Boston. The game was originally scheduled for Friday night, but because of the manhunt that was going on, the city was pretty much in lockdown. They were able to catch the guy late Friday night, so they switched the game to Saturday afternoon. And a lot of emotion going into the game, and you knew Boston was going to be amped up to play. They ended up getting the first goal of the game, but it was probably tough for them to play, kind of trying to bottle up all those emotions. The Penguins came out, they answered right back. They ended up winning the game 3-2 with power play goals from Chris Letang, and this might be one of his last games of the regular season because I have a feeling they might rest him. And then Jerome Iginla adding a power play goal. The Penguins win it 3-2. They lock up the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I doubt that they're going to win the President's Trophy because right now they're 5 points behind Chicago. And with 4 games left, it'll be a stretch for the Penguins to take home the President's Cup. But they are definitely the best team right now in the Eastern Conference. They've shown that with a dominant win over Montreal this past week, beating them 6-4. They swept this series during the regular season with the Bruins. They're the hottest team right now in the NHL. And I would say the team that would give the Penguins the most fits right now would be Washington, just because they're playing out of their mind. Alex Ovechkin has resurrected his career this season. They're the team that could match the Penguins offensively. But right now, I mean, the sky's the limit for this Penguins team. I think it's a safe bet to say that they will be the Eastern Conference champion. But who knows? They've had hiccups in the past in the first round. We know with Philadelphia last year. We know with Tampa Bay the year before. And we know with Montreal. It's been a while since the Penguins have reached the second round of the playoffs. So we'll hopefully, because I know that if that happens again this year, oh boy, Dan Bilesman's going to feel a lot of heat. All the players, they're going to, oh man, it's just, it will be bad in Pittsburgh if they do not make it out of the first round. And what's interesting about this team is that it seems like every single night, a different player stepping up and having an all-star game. In this Bruins game this past Saturday, UC Jokinen has a goal, 2 assists. Tomas Vokoun got the start, 38 saves on 40 shots. In the game against the Canadiens, where the Penguins won 6-4, Douglas Murray gets his first goal of the season. Iginla, a goal and an assist. Niskanen and Letang, both with 2 assists each. Brendan Morrow, 2 goals and an assist. And then Sutter, adding a couple goals. In the Montreal game, which I thought was just great to see, all the players that scored in that game, none of them were on the Penguins team last year. That just goes to show you that you have these new guys coming in, you want to get them accustomed to the system, and you don't know what you're going to have in the playoffs because they're not going to be playing with Malkin and Crosby and Neal because they're all out. But guess what? You just want to get them used to playing the Penguin system, and it shows that they're doing well at it because of the way they're scoring. Brendan Morrow, when he came over, I was suspect about him. I didn't know what we were going to get out of him, what the Penguins were going to get out of him, because he was having a down year in Dallas. Yes, he was their captain, but there was times when he's playing on the 4th line, and he ends up coming here and he finds his goal-scoring touch again. I guess that's what happens when these players know that they're at the end of their career and that they're on a good team that actually has a chance to win a cup. Because winning a cup is the ultimate motivating factor for any player in this league. Iginla is still searching for his first one, and I think he will go down with everything he has because I think he knows that this is his best and last chance to win a cup. So they're going to go out and give you 110% every single night. And I just think that's great to see for this team. Because once you pair them back, people are saying, well, Crosby might not even be fully healthy when he comes back. You don't even know what you're going to get from him. He's the best player in the world. He's going to be gung-ho. He's going to be ready. He's been skating already. He's just going to be so amped up because he knows that this team, it's very rare that you get these many good players together for a run like this. And especially with Dupuis and Kunitz, who are having all-star caliber years, career years in a shortened season. This team is special, and they know that they can make a run to win the cup. And with that, the Penguins 34-10, 4 games left in the regular season. They have Ottawa tonight, Buffalo, which was a game rescheduled for tomorrow night, then at New Jersey, and then the final home game of the regular season, final game of the regular season, Jordan Staal making his first visit to Consol Energy Center as a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. So the question becomes now, are you going to rest certain players? What are you going to do? I still think you go out and you play. I understand resting, the upper guys, but I think you got to let Iginla and Morrow play. You still got to get them more comfortable, even though it looks like they have no problems with the system. You just want to get them still playing at a hot level because the Penguins are not losing. I mean, there's a stretch. They've won 21 of 23 games after that, including that 15-game winning streak. So I think with Fleury, I know Bosma said that out of the final 5 games, Fleury was going to play 3 of them. So I am imagining that he will play tonight against Ottawa. Vokoun will probably play against Buffalo tomorrow. And then Fleury will get the start against the Devils on Thursday. And then finish it off against the Hurricanes on Saturday. But that'll be the key. Fleury. I mean, he's been rested during this 48-game stretch. They brought Vokoun in. Vokoun has played tremendous. Been one of the best backups in the NHL this year. And Fleury's been stellar too. So that'll be no excuse for the playoffs either. I think since Fleury's rested, this will be his best performance in the playoffs, I have a feeling, since the 2009 Cup win against the Red Wings. So Fleury, I think, is primed and ready to go for a long playoff run. Now, about tonight's game, because there's a lot of chit-chat going on about Matt Cooke making his first trip there to Ottawa since, the incident that happened back here in Pittsburgh where his skate cut the Achilles tendon of Erik Karlsson, who has been out for the Senators. He's their best player, best defenseman, one of the best defensemen in the game today. A lot of people thought it was intentional. I remember seeing the replays. I did not think that it was deliberate. I thought it was an accident. These types of plays, freak plays, happen in the NHL more regularly than you would think. And the Ottawa Senators their owner, Eugene Melnyk, I think he wants Cooke to pay. And here's what I think. I think Cooke should play because he wants to play. He's not going to shy away. Hockey code is that one of the Senators, I think it's going to be Chris Neal, he'll go up and try and fight Cooke, and then that should be it. Because that's the hockey code. If other sort of stuff happens, they go after Iginla. They go after Morrow. They start taking cheap shots at Fleury. They start to go out after Cooke even more. They try to purposely injure someone. That's just uncalled for, and it's coming from up top. Because I think, Eugene Melnyk, he should have kept his mouth shut. He shouldn't have said anything. He should have just said, well, yeah, of course we're going to go out there and we're going to, someone's going to pick a fight with Cooke. Because that's what you do in hockey. That's the rule you live by. But for him to say, like that, something could happen. We're going out for retribution or something. I don't know. But that if something were to happen in this game where you think that's real dirty, he's going to come out and say, that was not our intention. It was just in the heat of the moment. What happened to Karlsson. They were just trying to defend our guy. But, it's coming from him, and, he's probably saying, we got to make Cooke pay for what he did to one of our best players. Now, Daniel Alfredsson has already come out and said earlier today that we're going out, we're trying to win this game against the Penguins. We're not worried about retribution. And guess what? The Senators could be a team the Penguins play. They have been slipping. They could slip down possibly to the 8th spot in the playoffs. It's highly unlikely. But they could see the Senators in the second round. And the Penguins are no strangers to the Senators. They've been in the playoffs. They've met in the playoffs, I believe, 3 of the past 7 years, with the Senators winning one of the series, the Penguins winning the other 2. And that's what people are saying, I heard some analysts say they shouldn't play Cooke because, what if something does happen and he gets injured and he misses an extended period of time? You don't want to lose him for the playoffs. On the other hand, if the Penguins do play the Senators in the playoffs, what if something were to happen there? You're waiting for the fight to happen then when you could just get it over with in this game tonight. I think he definitely should play. And, Cooke knows. He knows that it's going to come. Someone's going to want to pick a fight with him. He's going to, get those cheap shots late at the end of whistles. And that comes with it. I mean, he's had a history of doing that in the past. He's cleaned up his act now. But he's a man. He knows what he needs to do. He's one of those guys that won't shy away. I remember in the past when he had that big hit that he laid on Savard, who knocked him out, who's still not played, and other guys were going to step in for him and say, you know what, we're going to fight for you. Don't worry. You don't got to worry about anything. Cook said, no, I did this. I'll fight if I need to. I'm not going to shy away from anything. So that's the type of player and the type of guy Matt Cook is. So I think there's no doubt in my mind that he will play in this game. Although, it's up to the coach. But I think Bilesman knows that I think Cook definitely should play. So we'll see later tonight how that all works out. But with that, we'll see now how the Penguins finish out this regular season, who gets rested, who plays, and what if Crosby comes back? What if they're going to try and let him play the final 2 games of the season, just so he can get himself acclimated again to the play. But safe to say that this is the year that the Penguins can finally make a deep run in the playoffs, and I think a lot of people are expecting them to possibly win the Stanley Cup. So we'll see how it goes from there, and tonight will be an interesting night to say the least in Ottawa. And now we're going to take it toward the Steelers, who have been in the news recently. The schedule for the whole NFL was released this past Thursday night. And looking at the Steelers' schedule, I have a feeling that they could go 9-7 or 10-6 on early projections right now. Altogether, the total combined records of all the teams that they are playing, under 500. One of the alarming things is that of their 7 true road games, because the game against Minnesota, which counts as a road game, is in London, 5 of those 7 are against playoff teams. So that is the alarming thing. They got to go, of course, to the division. They got to go to Cincinnati, to Baltimore, to New England, to Green Bay, and obviously Minnesota. But that's not a true road game. Then they still got other road games, with the Browns, with the Raiders, and with the Jets. I think what's good is that the end of the schedule, their final 4 games, 3 of the 4 are at home: Miami, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, with that at Green Bay game mixed in there. At the beginning of the season, 3 on the road, 2 at home. Their home opener, which is the first game, September 8th, 1 p.m. game against Tennessee. The Steelers do have a good amount of night games, which I'm surprised at because they're 8-8 record a year ago. They will be playing Monday night in what should be a hotly contested matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think a lot of people are thinking Cincinnati now can win the division this year, that they might be the best team because they are the youngest and they probably have the most talent of any team in the AFC North. And the matchup will even be all that much more interesting with the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals signed James Harrison, the former great Steeler linebacker, to a 2-year deal, and he is I know he's going to be amped up. He's going to be so pumped up to play against the Steelers and to show them that he still has enough left and that they should have retained him. But that's just going to be a great matchup to see. And then the Steelers, the rest of their home schedule, they got Chicago, of course, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, Buffalo, Detroit, and then Miami, Cincinnati, and Miami. The other 8 o'clock or late games: Sunday night game, home against Chicago. Another Sunday night game, home against Cincinnati. And then, for the first time in 15 years, it's hard to believe it has been 15 years, and believe it or not, it was the coin toss game, was the last time the Steelers played on Thanksgiving night against Detroit. Now, they will be playing on Thanksgiving again. The 8:30 game, which, people I've been hearing are a little iffy about because usually the late game on Thursday night, people just want to, wind down, start to doze off after eating all that turkey. But they'll be playing at Baltimore, which should be one of the best, I have a feeling, best Thanksgiving night games in a long time, because usually the night game on Thanksgivings were the crap games. You had Detroit in the afternoon, Dallas, and then the night game was usually, wasn't really any close games. They were usually blowouts. Remember the butt fumble game last year with the Jets and Patriots. But, Baltimore-Pittsburgh, probably one of the hottest and best rivalries right now in the NFL today. Smart decision by the NFL to schedule this game for Thanksgiving night. So I think that will be definitely one of the top games to look forward to. And then, of course, you have at New England. The Steelers have always had their trouble with Tom Brady. I think this will be interesting because New England, they still have, a lot of great players. They won't be without Wes Welker. It'll be interesting to see how this team competes on the road. They're going to have so many new faces in there. It's just going to be a lot of fun to see. And then Miami. Though I think the Miami game is going to be real interesting. I know Mike Wallace will not get a good reception whatsoever when he comes back. We'll see where Miami is at that point, but just to have him come back to Heinz Field, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then the game at Green Bay. Rematch of Super Bowl 45. Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, two of the best quarterbacks in the game today. I have a feeling both of those teams, I think, will be in a playoff race at that point in time, the second to last game of the year. So you think that the teams will be playing their starters, so that will no doubt be a fun game to watch. Could be one of the best AFC, NFC matchups of the year. And then the game with Detroit. Calvin Johnson coming in here to Pittsburgh. Reggie Bush, Matt Stafford. Detroit's going to have a high explosive offense. It'll be really interesting to see. There are a lot of great games on the schedule. And I think it'll bode well, I think, for the Steelers. I don't see them. I know a lot of people are saying, this could be a year where they finish under 500. I don't see them going any worse again than 8-8. So, of course, when you head toward, training camp, preseason, see how this team shapes out, figure out more, and then a better spot-on prediction for the team. But I like the schedule. I like my first inclinations of the schedule and what it can do for the Steelers. And now, Ben Roethlisberger was recently on the Vinny and Cook Show on Sports Radio 93.7 The Fan, believe this past Thursday, and he was on the show for about an hour, and they talked to him about a lot of different things, and the one thing that really caught my eye was him talking about the running back situation. Now, he was saying that he likes it right now. It'll be running back by committee. You got Dwyer, Redmond, and Batch. He said he's really liked what he saw out of Baron Batch. And his wife, her favorite player is Isaac Redmond. We saw what this did for the team last year. Yes, there were some great games where they contributed against Baltimore on the road, against the Giants with Redmond stepping up big, and then against the Redskins. But I don't think you can do another full season with just 3 running backs trying to get it together, trying to compensate for the likes of one. They could still try to address it in the draft. They could still possibly try and sign Ahmad Bradshaw. But I like Redmond, I like Dwyer, I like the guys. But they are not starting running backs in this league right now. I think out of the 3 of them, I think Dwyer, I would say, is the most starter ready. But none of them, I think, would be starters on any other team. So they definitely need to address that issue, either in the draft or with free agency. But who knows, if it's running back by committee, Ben might like that for the fact that he's going to throw a lot more. So we'll see how that works out. But the running game, I think, will definitely be a big if they cannot find anyone to be a number 1 starter for the team. And now, this week, I'm very excited. Draft week. I always look forward to the draft, especially this year because the Steelers are going to have a high pick. They'll be picking 17th in the first round. And this team, I think this is the first year in a long time where I have said that they have so many holes that they need to fill. It is ridiculous. Troy Polamalu not getting any younger. Ryan Clark getting up there in age. They lost Will Allen. They lost Ryan Mundy in free agency. They're going to need a safety. They still need a cornerback. They lost Keenan Lewis. We do not know if Cortez Allen or Curtis Brown will step up and be a great starter alongside Ike Taylor. They still need a heavy pass rusher. The defensive line has not performed up to this point. Harrison is gone. You don't know what you're going to get from Jason Worlds. You don't know what you have from Stevenson Sylvester or Adrian Robinson. Wide receiver. They matched the offer. They brought back Sanders for another year, which I was surprised at. I'm glad they did it, though. I still think he could be a great young player for this team. He showed signs of improvement. Of course, his big issue is fumbling. He has to hold on to the ball a lot better. I don't think, though, that he is a top 2 receiver. I think he is a great slot receiver, but I do not think he is a top 2. So you have him, Brown, Cautry, and Burris. Many people think that Sanders will be gone after this year because they're not going to be able to get a long-term deal with him. And Cautry and Burris, they think, will move on after this year. So they need to address that with receivers. Whether it be for free agency, I don't think there's that many good guys available. So they're going to have to get someone in the draft. And then, of course, quarterback. Not saying that's going to be the first or second round pick, but, I mean, they signed Bruce Gradkowski, but you don't know Leftwich, there's no chance of bringing him back. And Charlie Batch, question mark right now. He's getting up there in age. He's still showing that he's proven that he can still win. He beat Baltimore last year on the road. I have a feeling if they don't draft a quarterback, they will bring back Batch for another year. You'll have your 3 quarterbacks. Ben is only 31. Definitely still has a good solid 5 years left in him. Could play even longer. Brady's still doing it. Manning's still doing it, and they're at their upper 30s. So I don't think they're ready to draft a quarterback yet to groom him to be the successor to Ben, because you don't want him to be sitting on the bench for 5 years. So I think that time will come in a few years or so. But I read in the Post-Gazette earlier today that they are looking at players, Tyler Bray out of Tennessee, and then the quarterback at Miami of Ohio, Ben's alma mater, who they call Little Ben. They're looking at these guys and saying, maybe they can be a backup for this team. But I think with signing Gradkowski, and I think if you just bring back Batch for a final year, I think that would be suitable enough for this team, because I'd be surprised if Ben makes it through the year healthy. I think there's going to be maybe a game where he misses, but I think if you had Gradkowski and Batch in there, I think they can do the job. So I don't think this is a year. Maybe they'll draft a quarterback late, just to kind of see, what kind of competition will give them, these guys, in preseason. But I don't think they're ready to draft someone to be a future starter once Ben leaves the team. But some of the other guys that the Steelers are thinking about drafting, I know in the Sports Illustrated, Peter King does his annual mock draft. He has the Steelers taking Jarvis Jones, who could be on the defensive end. They could make him a linebacker. The one thing that worries me, he ran a 4.9. A 4.9 40. That's not too good for a defensive lineman / linebacker. You want them to be a little bit faster. And his ratings that Peter King did in Sports Illustrated, Jarvis Jones is the only one who was he was termed a sinker, which means his stock is falling. So a lot of teams I don't think are interested in taking him. So I guess it's just a matter if the Steelers really like him, that they're going to take him, because some of the what I've gotten out of this team, some of the early reports, is that they're going to take the best available player, regardless of the position. I think offensive linemen, though, they will not take another one of those. It seems like they have addressed that. The offensive line looks good. Hopefully they stay healthy this year, with Pouncey, DeCastro, Adams, Gilbert. So, and Ramon Foster, I think if he's in there, I think this line is definitely primed to have a fully healthy year, and that they are due for one. So I doubt the Steelers will draft a lineman in the first round. But yeah, like I said, there's receivers in there. Tavon Austin, even though he's small, he's 5'9", he is a game maker. He can change a game in a heartbeat. And then you got Cordell Patterson from Tennessee. There are a lot of good receivers in this draft. So, depending on if Patterson or Austin are still there, maybe the Steelers are going to shy away. They could maybe take a few in the middle to late rounds. And then a safety. They said this is a deep draft class for safeties. So, I think that this is I think one of the best years that the draft is deep. I don't think there's definitely not a lot of superstar players like there was in the past. Last year, with the likes of RG3 and all them. I think this will be a good draft for the Steelers, because they know that this is one of the most important drafts in a long time, and they're going to have to get some players that will provide an impact early on and can play, can suit up and start a game, because I have a feeling that's what it's going to come down to. And the Steelers are not interested in taking players who have had rocky past incidents in the past, because we saw what happened with them this past year, with Rainey and Te'amu. Tyrann Mathieu. Now, I know he has failed a number of drug tests, but he is a great playmaker on defense and in the special teams game. And he said he has changed. He said he has been clean now for half a year now. Obviously, you don't know how it's going to translate once he gets to the pro game, but I think, if he is still there in the third, maybe even fourth round, if teams if they pass up on him, I think he will be a stud in the NFL. And I think he has gotten his act together. Now, I don't have a feeling the Steelers will be taking him just because of the fact of his rocky past, and they said they definitely want to stay away from that, and they can't afford to have any screw-ups with the draft this year. A lot of people are saying, oh, maybe they could take Manti Te'o, but I don't see that happening either. But I just think if Tyrann Mathieu is there, I think he would be a great player to pick up. But like I said, it would be a long shot, but I'm just throwing it out there. So this draft will definitely be one to look forward to. I have a feeling the Steelers, they have the 17th pick, so they probably won't be picking, I would say, around 9:30 or 10 o'clock Thursday night. So if you want to only tune in to see their pick, I definitely tune in around that time. And it'll just be fun to see. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing the middle rounds, the second and third rounds, more than the first round, just because this is a deep class, and that's where the Steelers will probably get the areas of need that they will be looking for. So good luck to Kevin Colbert, and hopefully this draft class will be one for the ages for the Steelers, because they definitely need to have a good one. And now for the final topic of today's show, I'm going to get back into the college basketball game. I wasn't able to talk at all about the Louisville, Michigan college basketball championship game a few weeks ago, but I will say this. It was one of the best games I have seen in a long time. I think it was definitely the best game of the year in college basketball, and both teams, I think, they laid it out all on the line. Trey Burke, the National Player of the Year, played a spectacular game. Each team had players step up that did not see a lot of minutes. Spike Albrecht played out of his mind in the first half. Luke Hancock, who stepped up again off the bench. Louisville playing with that emotion, with Rick Tino being announced to the Basketball Hall of Fame, trying to become the only coach to win a championship with 2 schools. Of course, Kevin Ware being out, playing for him. And then Michigan trying to win a championship, trying to, do something that the Fab Five could never do. Both teams laid it out on the line, and it was just one heck of a game. Louisville, though, would not be denied. The #1 overall seed, able to gut it out, win the game 82-76. It was just a tremendous showing. Luke Hancock named Most Outstanding Player of the Final Four. The first time ever that a bench player was named the Most Outstanding Player. And it was one heck of a game, and it was one that I'll always remember watching. And now I do want to comment on a lot of the players, because once the championship game is over, a lot of players declare for the NBA draft. And there was no surprise that a lot of young players were going to do the same exact thing. The one that surprised me, Steven Adams, of course, entering for the NBA draft. Did not think he was ready, but because of the money and his situation with his family, it's something he thought he had to do. Freshman Ben McLemore of Kansas enters, which was no surprise. Junior Victor Oladipo from Indiana entered. I think he will have a great career in the NBA. Trey Burke, who's the National Player of the Year, he was only a sophomore, he declared for the draft. Freshman Archie Goodwin from Kentucky entered, and it was surprising. Kentucky's going to have that great draft class coming in with the Harrison twins, and you knew Goodwin wasn't going to get that much playing time, but I remember him saying that he was not ready after they lost to Robert Morris in the first round of the NIT. And he said, yeah, we have guys that aren't ready for the NBA. We really got to stay here in college. And he decides to go. So, little surprised by that. Junior Phil Pressey from Missouri, which was a surprise to most. He decided to enter. Sophomore Michael Carter-Williams, who had a great NCAA tournament from Syracuse. He will enter the draft. Sophomore guard Mike Kambongo, who barely played last year. He missed 23 games this past year. He was a sophomore. He is deciding to enter the draft. Junior Jamal Franklin from San Diego State. Freshman Anthony Bennett from UNLV. Junior Deshaun Thomas from Ohio State will enter the draft. Junior Alan Crabb from California. Junior C.J. Leslie from North Carolina State. And another junior from NC State, Lorenzo Brown, will enter. And sophomore B.J. Young from Arkansas will enter. A lot of guys that I'm a little surprised with. But I will say that there were 3 guys who decided to come back to school, which I was very happy to see, because I'm a huge college basketball fan, and them returning to the game would just make it that much better. Mitch McGary, who really, his stock rose for the NBA in this NCAA tournament. He could have went, but he is deciding to come back. Glenn Robinson III will also come back. Tim Hardaway Jr. was the junior for Michigan. I was thinking that he was likely going to enter the draft. He will. So you have Robinson III and McGarry coming back. That will be good for Michigan. And then one I was really surprised at, freshman Marcus Smart, who a lot of people said, he is going to be a great NBA player. He is coming back to Oklahoma State, and I think that's great. I mean, I know it might not be a good decision for him, just for the fact of money-wise, but he's going to come back. I think he's going to improve. You don't know with injuries, but I think he's going to be a much better player. He said he is a Cowboy at heart, and he's coming back, and I think Oklahoma State will be a great team next year in the Big 12. But going over all these underclassmen that decide to enter, I still believe that there needs to be a rule adopted where players have to stay in school for at least 2 years. I know with with injuries and all that, but I think it should be mandatory to make the college basketball game, to have it be at a high level on a consistent basis. Players need to stay at least 2 years. With these highly touted freshmen coming in, yeah, they have these phenomenal freshman seasons, and they feel like that they are ready to go make big bucks and contribute at the NBA level. But I cannot tell you how many countless number of times these freshmen decide to enter the draft, and then they start off in the developmental league. I think if these freshmen think that they're good enough to play, they need to enter the NBA draft when they are sure that they will make an NBA starting roster. And if they come back for a sophomore year, then they will refine their skills and just improve and make themselves more ready for the NBA. So that's my feeling, because you go in as a freshman thinking, okay, I don't know where I'm going to end up. I have all this time to figure it out. Then if you have this phenomenal season, you just get thrown in now to being in the NBA. Whereas if you know you had a spectacular freshman season, you're coming back as a sophomore, okay, this is my year for the NBA. I'm just going to go out and play my game and get better. Now, of course, I know about the injury situation. Nerlens Noel, he had that devastating injury. Now I understand him entering the NBA draft because he could likely be the number 1 pick. But I just think that they need to adopt a rule to make it 2 years. But we'll see from here on out. But that's just the way I feel, just because I'm a huge fan of college basketball, and I like to see everything at a high level. And you'll get that if you make players stay through their sophomore year. And news with the Pitt Panthers, they were able to get another a verbal commit out of Notre Dame Prep, he was actually a teammate of Steven Adams recently, and that is Jamel Artis. Now, I don't know much about him, but I will say this. He is 6'7", likely a small forward. He joins Mike Young and Josh Newkirk so far for the recruits for this upcoming year. And Artis, he had offers from Connecticut, George Mason, and South Florida. Decided to come to Pitt. They need big guys. And, 6'7", they're going to need as much size as they can without Steven Adams being in there. So whether he can come in and contribute and make the starting lineup for this Pitt team, I think will be interesting. Because they got Lamar Patterson. They got J.J. Moore if he's going to start. They got Talib Zana. They got James Robinson. Then they have Deron Johnson, Cameron Wright. They still have a lot of good players that they could throw in here. So I don't know what their lineup's going to look like just yet. They're starting 5. But it's nice to see that they got, a guy who is accustomed to winning and who played alongside Steven Adams. So maybe he can bring that type of level play to this Pitt team. But Dixon still has a couple other scholarships available, so hopefully he can try and go after a big-time center with what's out there that's left. I mean, I'm sure he can get a guy come in here who probably won't be ready his freshman year, but a guy who's borderline 7 foot, I think would definitely fill a hole that this team needs to address. But that'll do it, though, for today's show. Got into a lot of good things. The Pirates, Penguins, Steelers, and Pitt Panther basketball. Certainly on next week's show, we'll be talking about the NFL Draft. It'll be wrapping up to see what areas the Steelers addressed. The Pirates on this 10-game homestand, we'll see how they have fared. And then we'll be talking about the the NHL playoffs. See who the Penguins will be matching up with in the first round. So that'll do it. Signing off. I'm Michael Kravetz, and you just listened to the Sports Wrap.